The year is 1274 BC, and we're about to witness an epic clash between two ancient superpowers, the mighty Egyptian Empire and the formidable Hittites. Their battleground was a city called Kadesh. But here's the thing, the real story isn't just about who won the fight, it's about who won the right to tell the story.
So just try to picture this. You've got a young, incredibly ambitious pharaoh, Ramses II, and he is completely surrounded. His army is shattered, his generals are gone, and the enemy is closing in for the kill. It's in this moment of total desperation that he sends out this prayer to his god Ammon. This is it, the brink of total annihilation for one of the most famous rulers in all of history.
Because what happens next? Well, it's the stuff of legends. Ramses claims his god literally answered his prayer, that he, all by himself, rallied his forces and drove the enemy back in this glorious, divine victory. But was it really a miracle? Or was the Battle of Kadesh something else entirely? A bloody, brutal stalemate that was spun into one of the most successful PR campaigns of all time. That's exactly what we're going to break down.
Now, to really get this battle, you first have to understand the players. Back in the 13th century BC, the Egyptian and Hittite empires were the two superpowers. There was nobody else, and they were on a collision course over this one critical piece of real estate, the land of Syria, which was this vital gateway linking Africa, Asia, and Europe.
And these two empires couldn't have been more different. You've got Egypt, led by the young and, let's be honest, pretty arrogant Ramses II. He's got a professional army organized into 4 elite divisions, and his goal is simple: take back territory that he felt belonged to Egypt. On the other side, you have the Hittites, under King Muwatalli II. They were master metalworkers with a truly feared chariot corps. But their army was this complex coalition of 18 different allied states. Really powerful, but you can imagine also really difficult to command.
And the flashpoint for this whole showdown was the city of Kadesh. Just look at its position. It's a natural crossroads right on the Orontes River. If you controlled Kadesh, you controlled everything. All the trade, all the access to northern Syria, all the wealth. For both of these empires, holding this city wasn't just a nice-to-have, it was an absolute strategic necessity.
So Ramesses, just brimming with the confidence you'd expect from a young pharaoh, marches his army north. He's absolutely convinced he can just sweep the Hittites aside and take Kadesh no problem. What he had no idea about was that he was walking straight into one of the most brilliant and devious traps in the history of ancient warfare.
And this is where Ramesses' confidence, his overconfidence really, became a massive problem. In his rush to get to Kadesh and claim his victory, he let his forces get dangerously spread out. His lead division, the Ammon, got way ahead of everyone else. The Ra division was struggling to keep up, and the other 2 divisions were literally days behind. The mighty Egyptian army wasn't one single force. It was a long, scattered line of targets.
The Hittite plan was just elegant. It was beautiful in its deception. Thanks to a couple of very convincing spies that Ramesses captured, he was led to believe the entire Hittite army was over 100 miles away, cowering in fear. But in reality, Muwatalli's entire force was hiding just on the other side of the city. They just quietly waited, let Ramesses march right past them, set up his camp, and then they sprang the trap.
The trap was officially sprung, and what was supposed to be the staging ground for a glorious siege instantly turned into a desperate, chaotic fight for sheer survival.
We are talking about what was very likely the largest chariot battle in all of history. Over 5,000 chariots, and remember, these were the tanks of the Bronze Age, clashed on this one field. The scale of it is it's hard to even imagine. A terrifying spectacle of wood, bronze, and thousands of horses.
The Hittite attack was absolutely devastating. Their chariots came charging out from behind Kadesh and just slammed into the side of the marching Ra division, shattering it completely. Then they wheeled around and crashed right into Ramesses' own camp, overrunning his defenses and throwing his elite Ammon division into total chaos. In a matter of moments, Ramesses was cut off, isolated, and facing certain death or capture.
This was that moment, the moment of his desperate prayer to Ammon. The Hittite plan had worked perfectly. By all accounts, the battle should have been over right then and there. Egypt should have suffered one of the most catastrophic defeats in its history. So what happened? How did he get out of this?
Well, it wasn't divine intervention. It was an unbelievable stroke of luck. A completely separate Egyptian force, a group called the Nerin, had been marching up the coast on a different route, and they just happened to arrive on the battlefield at the exact perfect moment. They came out of nowhere and smashed right into the flank of the Hittite chariots, who were too busy looting the Egyptian camp to notice. This surprise attack completely blunted the Hittite assault and gave Ramesses just enough breathing room to rally his men.
The battle raged on until nightfall, and it was just a bloody, exhausting stalemate. Neither side could get the upper hand. But what happened after the fighting stopped is arguably even more important than the battle itself.
So, who actually won? Well, that really depends on who you ask. Ramesses goes home and carves these massive inscriptions all over Egypt, declaring this monumental, single-handed victory. But the Hittites recorded their own version, claiming they had defeated the pharaoh. Modern historians, though, they look at the evidence, and the conclusion is pretty clear. The battle was a tactical draw, but it was a strategic loss for Egypt. Kadesh, the whole reason for the campaign, stayed firmly in Hittite hands.
After years of more skirmishes, with both empires just bleeding money and men for basically zero gain, they both came to a profound realization. This endless war was completely unsustainable. So, 16 long years after the battle, and 1259 BC, they chose a radically different path.
They drafted the world's first known international peace treaty, and this document was absolutely revolutionary. It didn't just end the war, it set up a mutual defense pact. It defined clear borders. It even included clauses for extraditing political refugees and providing economic aid in case of a famine. This was an incredibly modern approach to international diplomacy, born from the ashes of a brutal, pointless conflict.
And that brings us right back to our original question. Ramesses did not achieve his military goal. He failed to conquer Kadesh. And yet, for thousands of years, he's been seen as the undisputed victor. How? How did he pull that off?
Simple. He may have drawn the military battle, but he decisively won the narrative war. While the reality on the ground was a peace treaty built on mutual stalemate, the story he told was one of personal, godlike heroism against impossible odds. He plastered this story on every single temple wall he could find, making sure that his version became the version. And that is how he became known not as Ramesses the Survivor, but as Ramesses the Great.
And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? The Battle of Kadesh proves that what actually happened in the past is only half the equation. The other half, maybe the more powerful half, is the story that gets told about it later. So it really forces us to ask, what's more important in shaping a legacy, winning the actual war or winning the story?